obviously trying to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, that sort of thing, please.
My name is Ruth Forster. I'm the founding director of Wagstaff Recruitment and Careers Coaching. Been in recruitment for 30 years. So I'm a recruiter and I'm also a qualified careers coach.
Okay. So in terms of what actually comes under being a careers coach, trying to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, okay. So the careers coach came second, really. So I would class that as, in a way, it's a little bit like a second chapter in my career. But as a careers coach, I decided to formally get qualified in coaching um, because I'd been in recruitment quite a few years and realized that I was working with a lot of people who were unhappy in their jobs. So as a recruiter, if we start it first of all as a recruiter, my job is to find people the right work. Specifically in my sector is engineering, manufacturing and automation. So that's what I specialize in.
Yeah.
So I work with engineering, manufacturing and automation organizations to find the right talent for them,
Yeah.
which then means I'm finding people jobs in those sectors. But when I was interviewing people and talking to people throughout their careers, there was a lot of people who were really, really unhappy.
Yeah.
And I suddenly thought, why do we get to this point in our career? It could be 5 years in, it could be 10 years in. Sometimes it can be 25, 30 years in, that we were aspiring to be in a place. And then we end up a bit miserable because we're not where we thought we would be, or it doesn't feel like how we thought it was going to be. So I could be speaking to operations directors who had been climbing the ladder and were desperate. That their whole vision had been they would be an MD.
Yeah.
And then they get there and this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And I'm miserable and maybe I'm 45, 50 and I'm stuck.
Yeah.
So I wanted to understand why we made the choices we made and what took us down a career to do that so that I could help people who were miserable. And that's how I position it. Let's not be miserable in our jobs, to unpick that and then get into a place where they are happy in their jobs.
Yeah.
So as a careers coach, I help people be happy in their jobs.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, that's why, for that exact reason, that's why I'm quite a big advocate for doing internships. So whilst you're doing your uni course, obviously you may enjoy the degree, but the degree and the job, personally, I found are very different because you have a different lifestyle doing a degree as to working. Because obviously you have your deadlines while you're doing your degree, but then there's probably no outside stress except for that. And obviously when you start working full time, you deal with not just a tutor or a specific assignment, you have loads of different people to deal with, plus the workload. So I think putting yourself in a position and doing internships means that, you can kind of get your foot in the water before you fully commit to that career. Because obviously once you have a piece of paper with your degree, which, as much as some people would say it's more than that, that's essentially all it is. Once you've got the experience, because for me, obviously, when I apply to jobs now, it ticks a box that I've got the degree, but then it's all about, what have you done? So it's essentially finding ways of helping people, as you say, not be miserable in the job because they've not worked throughout the degree. They've jumped into this job. They've gone, this is what I want to do, and then gone, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or they find the different areas that people want to work in. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I think also there is, throughout your life and your career, there will be many variables that will happen that will impact your career. So what you're thinking about doing when you're leaving school, leaving university, maybe what you're considering doing in your 20s can evolve and change as you then get into your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s. And it might not just be as simple as, okay, I thought I wanted to be a project manager and I've started down this route of project management and it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. There could be other variables. It could be, I now want to travel. My personal life is different. My family life is different. Whatever that can look very different, you know, as we evolve in our life. Some of us might end up looking after parents, so
Yeah.
you might need to be doing a job that gives you a little bit more flexibility, or you might be somebody that's having a family. Or there's so many different variables that will impact your career, and it will do this
Yeah, it is. It's all
constantly. Nobody's career does that, and it's very rare anybody's career does that. It will literally do this all of the time. And I think that's one of the things to sort of embrace, is that
Mhm.
it will change.
Yeah.
And not a bad thing.
I mean, I changed industry.
Scary.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely. I mean, I had the same thing. I was in the aerospace industry for 4 years, just over, 4 or 5 years, and then I've now changed into manufacturing, and I I still have some moments where you kind of feel a bit of imposter syndrome, because you have the good and the bad days, and sometimes the bad days can all come at once. Um,
Mm,
so I mean, even recently, I've had a couple where I've kind of like made a little mistake, and you're like, oh, that isn't really a good showing for myself because it's not really what I'm usually like. But
mhm.
um,
So I don't like the phrase imposter syndrome.
it is it's a way of describing a feeling. It's not really a
I
thing,
think it's
but
quite negative.
yeah, it is.
Or because the word syndrome just don't it just doesn't sit well with me.
Right.
Um, and I understand that's how people identify,
Yep.
but I think when you say it, I think it can put my personal belief is, as soon as you say it, it puts people into a bit of a nervousness and a this doesn't feel good, and there's a negative
Yeah.
attachment to it.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, when you're in that whole state of time, is you're in a position where you have less knowledge and less experience
Mhm.
compared to somebody else potentially in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all it is.
Mhm.
And once you get comfortable with accepting, okay, at this point, I'm sat in a position where I don't have as much knowledge or enough knowledge or the knowledge that I think to do something. And I don't have the experience that I wish I had, but I'm going to learn and grow. I think then you then put yourself into a place of, right, this isn't syndrome. This is now a period of learning and growth. And then it's positive.
Yes. Yeah. And that's how you got to look at it, and that's
Yeah.
when I speak to people,
So I, yeah.
it is. I mean, you don't want to, as you say. I think there's more and more now a lot of negativity around, things like mental health. And I think you're right in saying that making it negative can obviously impact people more than it really should do.
Yeah.
But looking at it, as you say, in a different way, in terms of
Yeah.
you've got to learn that there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be bad days, but
100
you don't have good days without the bad days. That's just that life, I suppose, isn't it?
goes back to that curve.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, you've got to, and this where, we talk about resilience in life and in careers
Yeah,
is, and it's a bit like, okay, I'm going to show my age slightly on this. It's like in the Rocky films.
yeah,
It's not how hard I've been hit, it's how hard I've been hit, but can keep moving forward.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, so in terms of, obviously, you as a recruiter, what ages do you work with? Do you work with the younger age, or the older age, or the middle, or all between? I
Yeah, any age and stage of a career.
Right.
Um, I will support younger um people in the start of their careers.
Yeah.
I'd work with I'm a governor, and I'm the careers lead governor at one of the local schools, and I support the careers and enterprise company as a agile careers advisor.
Yeah.
So that's on a very much a supportive and a voluntary basis. And then for people that are in their careers, it's people who have already gained experience. The reason being is because for the service that we provide, we're finding experienced talent for our clients.
Yeah.
Um, Hopefully, they can attract the young talented directly from their local communities.
Yeah.
And we'll certainly support them with the strategy around that of how you can directly attract talent.
Mhm.
And we do that again from any age and stage of career. If we believe that our clients actually have the ability to attract directly, we'll help them build that strategy. But then if somebody is looking for a very specific a set of skills, then that's when they come to us.
Right. Okay. So, obviously, as a recruiter, I'm assuming you're pretty clued up when it comes to CVs. But in the
Yes, you can say.
yeah, but in terms of beyond a CV,
Yeah.
what would you say employers are looking for outside of that piece of paper?
So let's just clarify that. When you say what they're looking for, do you mean what they're looking for when somebody turns up for an interview, or how to present their experience?
Yeah.
Is this
So I'd if I specify, so if someone comes in for an interview, obviously to get to the interview stage, your CV has to have gotten you to that point. So in order, outside of answering those sorts of questions,
Yeah. Okay. So you've presented your CV, you've got an interview, you turn up, there's 5 people there with exactly the same experience. What's
yeah,
the added value that you're bringing? The boring answer: preparation.
yeah,
So prepare for that interview and be genuinely interested in that organization.
mhm,
So everybody's going to know, hopefully, everybody's going to know when you turn up for an interview. You're going to know what the business does, what service they provide, what they may make, who their customers are, because it should be on their website or any of their social media platforms.
yeah,
But make sure you always know that, number one.
mhm,
Then go a little bit deeper. So find out what they do within their community. Have they won any awards? Have they won any um, awards around their product, their service, or what they do as a business? Have they won any awards of working with their community? Do they support any charities? Get under the skin a little bit of, who is this business really culturally?
yeah,
Research who's interviewing you. So LinkedIn's a great platform to have a look at what somebody's previous career has been. How long have they been with that organization? How many job roles have they held within that organization? Where were they before? So great questions could be, if you're being interviewed, I see you've been with this organization 5 years. What makes you stay? Yeah, you're wanting to know why somebody is invested in that organization.
yeah.
So just go that a little bit deeper, not surface level research, deeper.
Yeah, I think one of the guys that I've been working with, we did some interview prep for himself, and I think you'll probably agree with me on this, is that I think generically interview questions tend to be the same in terms of the same sort of topics will come up,
Yeah.
but finding a way of answering them with a little bit of personal experience will always help you stand out in the sense of not sounding a bit robotic.
Yeah. It's evidence based.
Yeah.
It's example led.
Mhm.
So you're quite right. I mean, they may position the question, give me an example when. So obviously then you are giving that example and it is evidence led. But yeah, try and link it. Factory tours are a great one. Once you get on that factory tour, because let's be honest, if you're going for an engineering role, I'm not an engineer, but I work with engineers, so I use the wig. Not built to um, deliver great interviews. You're engineers. You're being employed to do a job which is engineering orientated.
Yeah.
You get if it's a role where you can go and you can see the shop floor and there's machinery there, ask questions about the kit. Ask questions that
Yeah.
you think, oh, I've seen something like that before. I've seen this on a video or in some marketing or whatever you've seen it on YouTube, on TikTok or whatever platform you may have. link it. It shows that you're genuinely curious and interested in their product, service, business. You're linking it together.
Exactly. I think the one thing that I have personally always done is do that little bit of research to start with, and then after that, generally from where I work in terms of a design office, there will be a software that is used. Specifically for me, it'll be electrical engineering software of some sorts, and most of them, if not all of them, will have essentially what's called like an on-ramp, which is basically a little bit of training, gets you sort of situated with the software. And that means that when you go in, you know how to do the basics in terms of opening it up, opening projects, that sort of thing. And I think even being able to show, because most of them will give you like an online certificate, it's not the most impressive thing, but it also shows that little bit of initiative that you have gone a bit over.
Initiative shows that you're serious.
Yeah.
If you're taking it seriously, and that you've invested time to prepare.
Yeah. So in terms of, well, we'll talk mistakes. What do you think the biggest mistake you see students or graduates make when they're applying for jobs?
Great question. Not building their community, and not following up.
Right.
So what I mean by that is, let's take it through a traditional scenario. You put your CV in for a job,
Yeah.
and you just let it sit there. You're not heard, so that's it. You just leave it.
Yeah.
Use any means possible to build your name into that network before the jobs start. So there's a front bit and there's a back bit. So the community bit is the front end. So if you are lucky enough to have a very clear idea of the job you want to do or the sector you want to work in, you want to be following that business, following those employees, understanding everything that's happening within that business and that community.
Yeah.
So let's just take LinkedIn, because right now that is still the place to go for careers, and it will evolve and there will be different things that come through, but let's just take LinkedIn for now. So let's say let's go 16. You've decided that you are interested in working for Aston Martin in motorsport.
Yeah.
You're wanting to build your LinkedIn profile to demonstrate that that's what you're interested in and connect. Number one, follow Aston Martin. Number two, connect with all the employees that you think are relevant within your sector.
Yeah.
That means if you're interested in general engineering, but you don't know whether it's going to be hydraulic structures, electrical, stress engineering, whatever, go broad brush. Go and just connect with all of those people that you can within there. You'll start to see their feed. You'll start to see what they're talking about. You'll get a feel of that business, and it'll start to you'll feel what it's like within that organization. Connect with HR, connect with head of talent, connect with engineering managers, and you're doing all of this. So then, if you apply for a role with them, and you've been liking their posts as well, integrating yourself into that, liking their posts, maybe the odd comment or something that you think is interesting. And I know, I do appreciate this sounds scary, but again, if we don't push ourselves, what's the difference between you and another 150 students trying to get a job at Aston Martin, for example?
Yeah.
You have to go that extra mile. So build your community first. If you're not sure, still have a LinkedIn profile. And every time you hear of a company that you think, oh, that's quite interesting, follow them. Keep seeing what they're doing. It might suddenly come to life and you're like, oh, I never heard about these. And don't forget, second and third tier within those organizations. And to clarify, what I mean by that is the engineering businesses that are supplying directly into Aston Martin with components,
Yeah.
but also the engineering businesses that are supplying the first tier supply, and then into Aston Martin. I'm just using Aston Martin as an example. It could be anybody. It could be JCB. It could be, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that I think you do. And the second thing is, once that application's gone in, is follow up. I've sent an application. I just wanted to confirm my interest.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with a senior role at the moment where we've had quite a lot of applications, but I've got certain people who are following up. Had it today. Appreciate they knew I was out of the business. Appreciate you've been out of the business. Just wanted to reiterate my interest and reiterate why.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So then now they've had an email straight back and said, yeah, you're on the short list. I'll be back in touch. So it's pre and post. Build your community and follow up.
I think, yeah, that LinkedIn I shout about is a great tool, because even if, as you say, you connect with everybody and then you get to the point where you don't really fancy want to change industries, there's so much information there, even with just people talking, communities, that sort of thing. You can really find the interest that you want to find as long as you're actively going out. And to be honest, I think LinkedIn is not as scary as anything like even having a conversation like we are. It's like social media, isn't it? You just tap, follow, yeah, and you get to see what other person's doing. And in the future down the line, like as I'm finding out now, as I'm reaching out to professionals to have conversations like this, is that you have to accept that some people don't respond. And that's part of it.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, it has to accept that some people don't respond, because I've sent so many people messages just asking for these sorts of chats, just to get some sort of insight for some people that potentially don't have the current, can't think of the word, confidence to reach out to these people, because they may be seen as unreachable, if that makes sense. Like a couple of weeks ago, I spoke to a man named Ivan Rolder, who is a senior aerodynamicist at Williams, and we had a big conversation. Really interesting guy, but without sending him a message on LinkedIn, because 20 other aerodynamicists didn't even respond, and some of them did and said, "Oh, I can't at the moment." He did respond and he took the time, but the opportunities are endless as long as you can kind of, take that jump.
There's classic sayings in it that are used, corny as they are, but the one that I think relates to this is, for every no, you're closer to a yes.
Exactly.
So, and also what I would say is keep in mind, and this is hard, but most of the time people are not responding because it's not that they don't like you. It's not because they aren't interested. It's probably that they've read the message and then they've moved on very quickly and done something else. And it possibly that everybody's very, very busy.
Yeah.
And it's not that they want to help. I would say that 9 times out of 10, people are genuinely kind and they do want to help. The barrier isn't them not being kind. The barrier is time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just following up and just keep going with it. Not everybody's on LinkedIn and not everybody's going to help, but that community is a very strong and supportive community, I would say.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we've in just chatting away, we've actually covered many of the questions that we've gone along. I think another thing I'd like to ask is, if, for example, I'm going to apply for a job, but I don't feel like I've got all the qualifications, should I
Yep.
still apply?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, so there is some data out there and there is a male-female divide on this. The data says that, and this isn't everybody, but a proportion of men will look at an advert and think, I can do 50-60% of that and apply.
Yeah.
Females are normally wired to then think, I can do 80% of that, but I can't do the other 20, so I won't apply. Please, from a from a female point of view, look at something, and if you think it's something that you are interested in, it's a job you think you can do, but the barrier is out of the 5 things, one of them you can't do or 2 you can't do, please check it out. And this is how I would approach it. If I saw a job that I was very, very interested in, with a brand I was really interested in, it fitted everything for me, I would research how am I going to learn those 2 things that are on that list that I don't know?
Yeah.
And then I would be submitting an application to say, this is my CV, this is my experience, this is where I think I can excel. I don't have these other 2 pieces.
Yeah.
This is how I'd learn. And then what I would do is I'd follow up.
Yeah.
Now, it's so 100%, it doesn't mean you're going to get an interview, but again, the more no's you get, the closer you are to a yes. And employers and leaders within organizations are not looking for perfect.
Yeah.
They are looking for, and in my experience and what I see, there is time and time again where I can have somebody with exactly the skills and experience that the client is looking for, but does not have the right attitude and behavior. And we take the other person who has the right attitude, the right behavior that will fit in culturally within this business
Yeah.
because they will train. Now, let's be honest, if the advert's for a brain surgeon and you're not a brain surgeon,
Yeah. Yeah, you probably avoid that one.
everything. And if it's for a hydraulics engineer and you're an electrical engineer and that, you know, there's things where you're not going to be matched. But if there is a high percentage of you can do this job, please try and follow up.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't let it just sit there and look back and look at, well, why is this person compatible? Make it easy for the person who's reading it. Okay, they haven't got this, but they've explained what. Gosh, they're worth having a conversation with. Because the other thing as well is you might not be right for that particular job, but you've demonstrated what your values are, what your behaviors are, and what your fit is. So who's to say that they say, actually, you're not right for that one. We've got this one here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're definitely not wrong there because even for me, I wouldn't say the brainiest of people. I wouldn't say I'm brain box 101, but I think my biggest skill is being able to kind of have these conversations. I'm not afraid to talk away. And sometimes it can end up me being just chatting away and chewing someone's ear off. But I think if you feel like I know I did, I've got a younger sister and she got all the brains. But I got the communication skills because she wasn't as confident in that sense. So I kind of had to make that up in that sense, and sort of make those changes to allow me, once you're in that interview stage, to kind of excel. And as you say, preparing before it means that you go in 10 times more confident because you're not expecting the unexpected at that point. You're like, I know it's going to come. I'm expecting it, and that's all you can really do in terms of when you're applying for these jobs if you don't think
Yeah.
you're qualified. Um, So, in terms of tailoring an application to different roles, how would a student, for example, go about tailoring their CV for their first job, for something that may not be as specific to their current degree, but in terms of, we'll keep it as simple as, I've got a CV, I want to tailor it to a manufacturing job. Where would I start?
Okay. Um, I think might need to be a bit more specific somewhere. I'll give you a broad.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
yeah, I can be a little bit more specific. So for example, I am an electrical engineer. I've
yeah.
changed from aerospace to manufacturing. The software changes, for me, were a big thing that I kind of played on. I had to make it very obvious that I didn't have any experience in this software. But in terms of tailoring my CV as an aerospace engineer to then become a manufacturing engineer, what would you say would be key points to pick up on?
So I would always look at a job description and look in it and say, what can I do?
Yeah.
Again, what can I do here? What do I think is transferable from what I do in this role to another role? And then trying to demonstrate in your CV or maybe the cover letter of why you think it's transferable.
Yeah.
And that's somebody with experience.
Hmm.
Were you also saying that somebody would, the initial question was with somebody without any experience at all?
Yeah. So what can a student
They,
do?
would you say they've got some qualifications at that point?
So
Or
so if we go the bare bones, I think most people that watch this will be the bare bones. So you've just done your degree, you've
yeah,
maybe had an internship.
you've had an internship.
We'll say you've had an internship because
Yep,
that's something I push, and you go to apply for your first job.
yep.
What's the things to look for?
Okay. Well, let's take it to the side that you said internships are hard. So let's park that as well and say, let's say they haven't had an
Yeah.
internship.
Okay.
So let's just say they've just completed the 3-year engineering degree and they're going for the first job.
Yeah.
You are tailoring it to your interest, and there's got to be a reason you're applying for that job. There's got to be a link somewhere of why you're applying for that. It's either got to fit in to what you've learned at university, whether it's coursework, practical work that's of a genuine interest, or the sectors of interest to you, the organizations of interest to you. So you're wanting to do that link. I've learnt this at university in this. I think I can use this theory to come into your organization and learn practically how to become this person.
Yeah.
You're joining the dots. That's where I think you are. That's the story. You're trying to showcase this is my core competencies. This is who I am as an individual, behavioral wise, curious, I'm learning, ongoing learning. This is why I'm interested in your business. This is why I think you should interview me, you should meet me.
Right. Perfect. So I mean, to be honest, that question probably could have been worded a bit better on my behalf.
That's fine. No, it's hard, isn't it? Because when we've got so much going around in our heads, and this is the same as when you're at interview, because you're sat there. I mean, this is a really difficult thing. You're in there in the interview. You've got all of this stuff going around in your head, and you're like, "Oh, I want to say that," and I'm trying to listen, and I'm trying to do that. And yeah, there's an art to this, and it's hard.
Yeah.
So the other thing I would say is when you're going in for an interview, the classics. I know we've spoken about this before. Don't be afraid to go in with a pen and paper. Don't be afraid to show that you've got notes, that you've got questions. That shows that you're prepared.
Yeah.
Appreciate I'm saying pen and paper, and it probably isn't going to be that now. It's going to be on your iPad or whatever your electronic device you're popping it off. But whatever, doesn't matter. If you've printed stuff off, don't be ashamed to print stuff off and that you've scribbled loads of notes over a job description. All of that. Make sure you're comfortable. Yeah, don't leave yourself exposed where you don't need to be. There's nothing wrong with going in with loads of notes and loads of questions.
See, I think you may have touched on something there that I would never recommend. So personally, from how you have a conversation with other people, I'd always take pen and paper purely for the reason that even if you've got notes on your phone, your iPad, if you pull out your phone and start looking at it, people will generally think the worst. They don't think you're looking at notes because I had a conversation with a business a little while ago, and we were on a Zoom call, and I was kind of looking at my phone, just tapping out notes, and he said to me, he was like, "Oh, I don't want to keep you." And so I had to explain to him then that it wasn't me being rude. I wasn't just texting on my phone whilst he was telling his story. I was actually taking notes. And I think some interviewers may ask the question of, as he did, like, what you doing sort of thing. And some will just ignore it. And then that'll be the end of it because they'll take that as you were being rude. So there's a fine line between technology, I think. Potentially.
I'm going to disagree
You
with
can
you.
disagree with me? Go on, tell me.
What I do, so when I'm interviewing,
Yeah.
or I would always say, go in, okay? And the first thing you say is, I've prepared my notes and things on my phone. Do you mind if I just have my phone there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You straight away, there's no question there. So when I'm interviewing, I've got 2 screens.
Yeah.
I come on video and I will say that will be the joke. Your CV is on that screen. So if you see me looking at that screen and looking at your CV, I'm not watching a film.
Yeah, I mean, I got my question on the other screen as well. That's why I'm kind of half tearing.
It's your responsibility to communicate what you're doing. So just think about it. So it doesn't matter how you take it. I mean, granted, the thing I get nervous about with phones is if your battery dies or if you've got something and you need signal, then you're a little bit exposed.
Yeah.
So yeah, pen and paper is always
It'll never fail. It'll always be there.
a bit foolproof.
Yeah.
But no, I would just go, and I always said that to people even before tech came in. Was open up my notebook. I've got, uh, you know, I've got my notes here.
Mhm.
So it's the art of communication, and it's the art of thinking about, well, how could this be perceived? So no, if you are somebody who uses your phone, you've got all that on your phone. That's what you're comfortable with. The only thing I would say is please, as you've gone in, you've said hello, or even if you're doing something on a call like this,
Mhm.
print it out.
Yeah.
So first of all, grow. You're doing an interview like this. Just to let you know, I've got some interview questions there. So I've got some questions for you. So if you see me look there, I'll go there.
Perfect. From a recruiter's perspective, then, what would you say in terms of the area you operate in are the most in-demand careers?
Okay. CNC,
Yep.
maintenance engineers. They're the two really critical ones that are high
Yeah.
on the list at the moment. Yeah, we don't have enough people in those sectors at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think even speaking, a couple of my friends are maintenance techs, and they're saying that, as you say, a lot of the workforce now are older and retiring, and there's not as many people coming in. So there's a big gap, and they get paid really well. They get paid really well.
Yeah, and you've probably got to work shifts. We've just done a report on salary insights and shift working, and yeah, I mean for the shift work is highly paid now, but some people are now saying they don't want to work shift because of work-life balance. So yeah, see, if you're in CNC or maintenance engineering, electrical engineering, yeah, you are definitely not going to have a problem with your career.
Yeah, it's a massive industry as well. I think you potentially sometimes it's overlooked, but I mean, if shift works for you, it's ideal. I mean, a couple of lads that I know, they do a 4 on, 6 off,
Yep.
which sounds lovely. They only work 12 days a month or something like that, which is
Yeah, then work out and take your holidays into account. You're
exactly.
probably working, well, you're probably working half a year.
Yeah, you're working half a year. I mean, that sounds great, doesn't it? It does sound great. So what is one piece of advice you would give to a student who is looking for a job now?
Build your community.
Build your community.
100% build your community.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is use LinkedIn while it's here. I'm not saying it's going anywhere, but things do change. But while it's here, build your community.
Yeah, it's such an easy thing to do as well, isn't it? It's not
So easy to do.
Yeah.
So easy. So build that. Remember that everybody knows somebody. So, if you're interested in some in a career,
Yeah.
who do you know who? So you might not know anybody within your immediate circle, but do they know somebody who knows somebody that does that job or who can offer you advice?
Yeah.
Always, yeah, sorry, I've got more than one, and I asked for one, but it's
Yep.
involved in community.
Go
It's
on.
all about community piece. Always remember that people will remember you.
Mhm.
And they'll definitely remember you if you do something that makes them remember you in a bad way. So if you choose to leave an employer, leave on good terms.
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to know who comes back to this community piece.
Yeah, yeah. It's a small world, isn't it?
It is a very small world. It's 6 degrees of separation. It's probably even less now. So for every 6 person, everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all about community for me. Yeah, build your community so you can lean on and you can phone people and ask for advice, or somebody will say, do you know anybody? No, but I know somebody who might be able to help you.
Okay, here's one for you. Speaking of being remembered for negatives, what is something from a recruiter's perspective that you would tell anyone looking for a job to avoid? What is the worst thing someone can do, or things that they can do to negatively impact their chances they should avoid, basically?
I mean, it is the classic things of, if you say you're going to go for an interview,
Yeah.
go for the interview.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not going, communicating, the art of, good communication. Because again, back to the community, you don't know who that person is interviewing you.
Yeah.
They might remember in 2 years' time you didn't turn up for an interview. So make sure that you turn up, and don't lie on your CV.
Yeah. Yeah, that's obviously a big one.
Don't leave gaps on your CV. And what I mean by, tell the story. Your CV is a story. If you've only been at a job for 4 months, again, it needs to really go on there. And my reason being is because if I find out that somebody hasn't put something on their CV or their LinkedIn profile, and then I find out, my immediate stance then is, what else haven't they told me?
Yeah, you start questioning.
Yeah. So no, not everybody's going to be. It's the classic of, how long should your CV be and all this. There is a personal choice to some of this.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I would always have everything on my CV. If you've had a period of time where, and this happens, you go through a period of your life where things just aren't great, and you might go from one job to another job to another job to another job. And let's be honest, in the world we're in at the moment, people don't stay in jobs for 20 years, and you can go out there, especially if you're a maintenance engineer, you can pick up a job. You could go out tomorrow and find a job.
Yeah.
So if you've got this situation where things aren't great personally, and you're just not, work's just not fitting right, and let's say, for example, you've had 3 jobs in 2 years and it doesn't look that great on your CV. What I would do is I would put, for example, 2020 to 2023, list the companies you've worked at, list the jobs that you've done, put it under a bracket, and then explain to the recruiter, I've put these in there under that because it doesn't look that great. I know that, but this is the reason I've done it.
Yeah.
Because then it sort of diffuses what's going off, and you're explaining the situation. You're on a front foot straight away. Whereas if you go into an interview and you've got these jobs or there's some gaps, and you're on the back foot, oh, what do I need to say here? What should I say? It's about owning it, and
Yeah.
getting comfortable with what your decisions were.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's, we go back to what we said in the beginning, nobody is great exactly. There's ups and downs, no matter. And if anybody says that it's a bit like the Instagram life. If anybody says their life is like it is on Instagram, you know they're lying, because that is not the truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same as careers. Nobody has a great career all of the time. People go into organizations where they don't feel comfortable, they don't fit, they don't like the people they're working with, they don't like the environment, they have a bad boss, they have a great boss, they have ill health, they have personal problems. There's a whole heap of stuff that goes off within a career. It's not about what goes off, it's about how you handle it and how you come out of it, and
Yeah.
how you tell that story.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll give you a final question. So, for me, I've dealt with a range of recruiters, as I've already said. So, what would you say is something that people maybe misunderstand about recruitment or the hiring process?
Oh, Reese, that's a killer of a okay. That wasn't on your list of questions you said to
It
me.
was, it's the last question. The last question, yeah.
Okay, right.
Don't worry, I can cut it if you don't like it.
No, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy with it. You can keep all of this unedited. It's fine. Right. So it's like with anything. It's all about the person and the relationship.
Yeah.
So, as in with life, there are good people and there's bad people.
Mhm.
There's good recruiters, there's great recruiters, and there's average recruiters, and there's transactional recruiters.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with the recruiters. Some recruiters are what I would class transactional.
Mhm.
Yeah. They get a vacancy, they need to fill it, they move on. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
You might have to chase more because they are in that moment and they are delivering.
Yeah.
You get other recruiters who want to build relationships and want to help because that's where they are. Bearing in mind, you will have recruiters who have got targets, they've got objectives, they've got KPIs.
Mm.
So they are their job is to find you a job. And if they can't at that time, they won't spend that time working with you. Somebody who's got more of a consultative approach might be able to spend more time with you.
Right.
So maybe the thing to get again is to take the ownership is when you have a connection with it, when you meet a recruiter or you apply for a job, you've done all your follow up. Sometimes it just doesn't go, just doesn't work. And that's just the way it is. But if you have a conversation with a recruiter, maybe ask them, okay, how do you work? Is it that, and this is absolutely fine, is it that I've applied for this job and that's it, I need to keep an eye on everything else? Or can you help me in other ways? And they might be honest with you, they might not be used to that question. So I think it's just like any relationship. Some relationships work, some relationships don't.
Yeah.
And depending on the role as well, it might have, if you bear in mind that somebody might put a job advert out there, and especially if we go hiring managers now, a hiring manager direct with a business. So let's go Formula because it's so easy. There's so many people wanting to get into Formula One at the moment.
Yeah.
So somebody puts an apprenticeship program out with a Formula One team or Jaguar Land Rover. So Jaguar Land Rover are trying to recruit a load of apprentices at the moment. They will have an influx.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking thousands sometimes, definitely hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't about that hiring manager being back to you personally. It's about the situation.
Yeah.
So I think my advice always is try and understand the situation, understand what the demand is, and understand how they work. Just take time. As good recruiters, there's not so good recruiters.
To be honest, I asked that question because I know you'd answer it well. That's all it was. I think having had previous conversations with you, I know you probably dealt with the same sort of situation before, and it was a bit of it was a half cooked question, we'll say.
It was, wasn't it?
But no, I mean, I won't keep you any longer. That's all the question I've got for today. But obviously, we'll definitely keep in touch and help you
Amazing.
sort something else out again soon.